Hello, welcome to week 4 of Art Club Takeaway. How's things? It's been so lovely to see all the great things you've been making, to hear the stories of how your imaginations are working. It is so inspiring. It's making me really, really happy. Thank you so much for sharing. I do hope it's making you happy too. So, let's get on with week 4. You might well have noticed, if you've opened your box already, that what we've got in here, it's all flat. It's all paper, some cards, some little bits of film and transparencies, but basically flat stuff. And the question I'm going to ask you today is, can you make something 3D out of all this flat stuff? So we're going to think about folding, bending, tearing, cutting. Think about all those different ways to make different shapes out of what we've got. But of course, before we start, it's important to say, if you've opened the box and you found something that you have a brilliant idea for, you go for it. You don't have to do anything that I'm asking you to do. It's just some ideas. It's yours. The box is yours. The things that are inside are for you. So on you go. Just make sure you share because it's so brilliant to hear. Okay, let's start. Let's start with feet. So if you've got a very flat piece of paper, how are you going to make that stand up? Perhaps if you just fold over the end, let's put it on here, you might make a foot. You might make a way to stick it. I would suggest putting the glue onto your card or onto your backing board. The glue should normally dry clear, so you probably won't be able to see it afterwards. What if I do another one at the other end? Can you see? 2 feet, 2 tabs. And if I stuck 2 down, look at that. I've already got something that's, well, it sticks out, certainly, from the paper. A tunnel, an arch. It's a good way to perhaps add other things onto it as well. Why don't I show you this? This is something that somebody's made. You can see lots of different ways, all made of paper, lots of different ways to make the paper come out, stand out in a 3D way. So look, some rings. This goes around the arch. Kind of a concertina. You fold forward and backwards and forwards and backwards. This one is fringe. Look, I'll show you how to do that. And here a curl or a spiral. I'll show you that as well in a minute. But you can see how, using different colours and shapes, this person has made a really interesting piece of 3D artwork purely out of flat stuff. Let's talk about that fringing. So if I hold the 2 feet together, because they're going to stick down, and maybe I could fold it in the middle. So if I get my scissors carefully, I can cut halfway, 3/4 of the way. Experiment. See what happens. See what works for you, and you get that lovely fringe effect if I stuck it down. But also, if I opened it up and stuck, you've got those holes inside. So what could go in there? Could things go between each one? Could you try weaving in and out? Could that be a way to build even higher? Even if that was pretty flat, you could still use those spaces for extra bits. I would say use your scissors. Try hard to make different shapes out of what I've given you. Of course, I've cut things in lots of squares and rectangles. There are lots of circles. I've used my circle making machine, which is very exciting. But mostly squares and rectangles. So you can use your scissors and cut different shapes. In fact, maybe why not start there? Why not start with seeing how your scissors work? A bit of scissor practice. Seeing what sort of shapes you can make. Are you going to draw on first and then cut out? If you're going to cut a shape, I would always try to use the edge of the paper and go into a corner, so you've got all of that spare to use for next time. If you go slap bang in the middle, all you've got is kind of waste around the edge, or just the ability to use small bits. So try and always start in a corner And then you can save all the rest of the paper for another shape, and another one, and another one, and then maybe a big one. Let's have a look. Oh yes, there are these in here. So these are little pieces of vinyl. It's called sign writing vinyl. You might have seen these on shop windows perhaps, or maybe on the side of vans. People cut them into different shapes and lettering to advertise their business often. So I've got them in big sheets and I've cut them into squares for you. But I want to show you how to peel them off because these are sticky. These are self-adhesive. You might have seen these before. If you've had lots of things from me, I love to use this. But I'll show you. So if you hold it quite high up, don't try to peel the white from the colour because that can be quite hard. If you hold it with the colour towards yourself, holding it high, and use your finger or your thumb as a tool, kind of want to try to roll. Can you see how that's working? Try to roll the colour away. Here we go. We get it off. Now, of course, this stuff can be cut, but I would suggest cutting it before you take the backing off, because this is really quite sticky. Something else about this one I've just noticed is that it's translucent. I was trying to make sure I had the right word. So it means you can see through, but it's not completely clear. It's not transparent. It's translucent. So if you stick it onto something else, you can probably see there's something else through it. And this is a great way to lead on to perhaps the idea of layers. Now, in here, of course, there are envelopes. And with all that flat stuff, perhaps you might want to make flat things. A collage, a card, something perhaps to send to someone. This time particularly, I'm sure people would love to get something through the post from you. So you could think about that as well. And when you're thinking about layering, putting one thing on top of something else, as well as making shapes, you can look at changing the colours of things. So, for example, something else that's in here are these pieces of film, these transparencies. So, for example, if I take this piece of paper and I put one of these yellow transparencies over the top, you can still see the paper, but the yellow changes the colour of it. So this is interesting. You can cut these also. I've just picked this one up. You might not have this exact colour, but you can see, again, you can see through, and then even with on top of the yellow, it changes, each bit changes colour. It's really interesting to see what sort of different effects you can make. Have a go. Explore and see what you like. Anything else? Oh, let me just show you that one, how to make a curl. Now, you need to be safe with this, and you might find this difficult, but it's definitely worth a practice. You'll need your scissors, but you'll need to keep them closed because we're going to use the back of our scissors and our thumb. So I've got another one of those strips of paper. This is just normal A4 printer paper. I happen to have it in yellow. But you perhaps have got lots of different papers in your house that you might be free to use. You might even have some old wrapping paper or silver bits from sweets. I mean, all sorts of things. I don't know. Have a look, see what you've got. Make sure you're allowed to use it first. Let me show you. You're going to push down on the back of your scissors with your thumb. Now, I'm right-handed and I'm holding the scissors in my right hand. With my left hand, I've got the piece of paper and I'm going to put it in between the scissors and my thumb. Now, I'm going to pull quite hard with my left hand, but push quite hard with my thumb. You can do it fast or slow. You might find the paper rips. It might take an awful lot of practice. Look what happens when you get there. You can make these curls. Now, of course, be very careful with your scissors. Different thicknesses of paper it might go differently. If it's very, very thick, it might not work so well. If it's very thin, it might break. It's all about experimenting. But then, of course, put a tab on the end of that. That's going to stick up beautifully for your 3D sculpture. See how you go. I'd be really interested to hear what happens and tell me if you enjoy it or not. I hope you have a good week. See you next time.